this hoodie. So I talked about run form in terms of where your foot lands. So I want to take that just a step further. So I've worked with a few of you that live in Sugar Land on some ankle work, right? And we've started at the base, and that's the thing that I believe people don't address enough. And right before I got cut off, what I was saying is that there's 1,000 different ways to become a better runner. This is the way that I believe in. It's the way that I coach. So it's just my opinion. But I think that it's often neglected that we do not discuss the lower part of running form. We always want to talk about hamstring engagement. We always want to talk about stride length. We always want to talk about hip position. All that stuff's very, very important. But if how your foot lands on the ground is bad, it's all bad. Everything starts with the way the foot lands, okay? Now, if you all have, if you have shoes on right now, and you can, Randy, it's probably weird for you. Take one of your shoes off or both your shoes off and take your socks off. And what I want you to do is, you can stand up, you just make sure you see your computer screen, stand up, and I just want you to lift like your right leg and gently apply pressure on the ball of your foot as you set it down and gently shift your weight to that leg. Now, what I want you to watch when you do that is how does your foot react to the pressure of the ground? Very, very important. So just go ahead and just set it down gently on the ground and watch how your foot kind of opens. Watch what your foot does. Okay? Now, the catch to this is do the other foot the same way. So we're just going to take ball of the foot first, gently apply pressure, watch it spread, allow the heel to contact the ground. Okay? Now, when you have it fully contacted with the ground, I want you to shift your weight slowly back. So if I'm like this and all my weight's on the front leg, shift it slowly to the other leg and watch it as you release the pressure. Watch what your foot does. Your foot should kind of fold back up again, shrink back up. Everyone's foot's going to do something different based on arch height and the way our bones are kind of structured because we're all a bit different. But I want you just to watch that. Now, very, very important that a lot of coaches don't talk about is that is very, very, very vitally important to how everything else up the chain works. If you end up with a blister on your foot, for example, you're going to make sure your foot lands differently every time to protect that blister. Or if you step on something and it hurts your foot, whatever. So first thing, how does the foot impact the ground? You can't see this with shoes on. Shoes can actually prevent your foot from striking properly and doing what it naturally does. It opens up and accepts the load, right? So shoes can kind of restrict that. That's why shoe selection is important. More so, how wide is the toe box? More than is it neutral stability, all that kind of stuff, unless you have some type of weird issues. So now let's take another step. I want everyone just to lift their weight onto their right leg only. And you're just going to stand there, and I want you to close your eyes. Feel those tiny muscles engaging and releasing as they try to figure out exactly what's going on. If you're like Michael, you're probably about to fall over, right? So what's happening is as you ask that leg or that lower part of your leg to take on the stress and keep me upright, it's like a little rocket ship. It has to fire to adjust the attitude. It's having to fire these little muscles to make everything else kind of balance. So one fires and it goes, oh, too much. Another one fires to counteract that. So in time, you want this to be much more stable. You should not be sitting here going like this right now, right? That's a low leg strength issue. Go ahead to the other side. Same thing. Once you go ahead and lift it up, the catch to this is to make sure that your heel on the lifted leg is as high as your knee, right? So what I'm talking about is this right here. You want it up high enough to make sure all the weight's over there and you're not using that as a counterbalance. So you should be able to stand there nice and firm. You're going to find one leg is going to be better than the other. The other thing you're going to notice is if you've ever watched the flamingo or any other type of bird stand on one leg, the leg is never out where it is if both legs are down. It's under its center of gravity, or its center of mass, right? So it's dead middle. This is exactly what happens when you try to run fast. When you run slow, your feet, and you guys can go ahead and put your feet down. Sit back down if you'd like to. When you run slow, your feet are going to stay nice and wide for the most part, okay? Now, when you run faster and you have both legs off the ground, or there is minimal ground contact time shared between the two, meaning it's a very quick, like this, if you're running slower, one foot comes off, the other foot is almost on the ground before that one lifts. So when you run faster, which is what we all want to do, we all want to try to get faster, we want to do speed work and this and that. You got to remember, your leg is going to naturally want to come over here and do what I call the model walk. It's going to come and land there because it has to support the body's movements up top. Okay? So what I want you to think about when you're running is make sure that when that leg lands, it does not land inside crossing over, just like the swim or anything else we do in life. You never want it to cross over. Okay? So you want to think about widening it a bit. That's going to reduce the injury potential. When you come here and your foot lands like this, the majority of the stress is going to come all the way up this lateral part of the body right here. That's your IT band. That's out here on your outer soleus. All those connective tissues all up this side, which is where we get a lot of the issues in running. Make sure you widen it out a bit. Now, if you'll notice, we just talked through all that, and I never once talked about how your knee drive should be, or your hip drop, or your arm carry, or anything like that. You have to start at the very basic fundamental pieces of the run form, and that's going to be in your feet and your ankles. If you lack ankle mobility, you're going to have problems. So if you're standing here like this, and you bring your knees forward, and you feel it's tight around your ankles or calves, you need to do some stretching, some rolling, some mobility work. Work on getting some good flexion, things like that. So you want to think about just working those muscles a little bit. It's very simple. You can sit there on your couch watching Netflix like most people in the world are doing, except for Randy, because I think he's the only employed one, keeping the world going, Randy. But you can sit there on your couch, you take a towel or a washcloth, put it on the ground, and you just use your toes to pick it up and drop it. Pick it up and drop it, right? Do that 50 times. That is strengthening that plantar fascia, which is where a lot of the injuries come from down here on the bottom of the foot. Again, we haven't moved above the ankle talking about run form. That is crucially important, because if this down here is out of whack, it's going to cause everything up the chain to be just as bad off. Okay? So I want you all to think about that. That's kind of your task for the week. When you go for a run, make sure we're wide enough. Make sure that when we land, that you cannot see your shoelaces, right? So to fix that, bring the body forward a bit more from the hips, okay? So don't see shoelaces. Make sure we're landing wide enough this week. Work on ankle mobility, work on plantar strengthening. Any questions? Oh, come on, somebody's got a question.
Do you have any, run form exercises that you can show us to do, just that are like, repetition, just run form exercises to work on that outside of the picking up of the cloth on the ground, like we do butt kicks and stuff like that, right? Something like that.
Yeah. So drill wise, the part that we're working on right now, you could do stuff like we did out at the trails that one day or several days. And it's just very simple. So you do just ankle swaps. Just do this.
Okay.
Right? And we're not worried about how fast you're lifting or how high you're lifting. We're worried about the transferring of the weight. Right? And when you land, you'll feel that muscle go like that. So you want to work on over time just through strengthening. And honestly, if you're making dinner or you're making yourself a glass of water or wine or whatever you guys are into nowadays, stand there on one leg. You have to work those muscles in order for them to understand, hey, this is what I got to do. I got to fire these muscles. Slowly you'll strengthen those, and as you strengthen those, they'll kind of encapsulate those joints down there and help them be a little bit more stable. Okay? And for anybody that played basketball or soccer or any of those other sports as a kid, I personally have a lot of ankle issues. I got one ankle I call my sloppy ankle. You can look at it wrong and I'll roll it, guaranteed. Right? So a couple of ways to prevent that if you deal with any type of ankle issue is spatial awareness. Always know where your foot is going to land, right? Have an idea of how it's going to land. What happens when we get tired? When we get tired and you lift your leg, you'll watch naturally this knee will want to come in and this ankle will want to turn under. The more tired you get. Glute med wants to stop working and the outer leg muscles want to stop working. So you really have to think about when you're landing, make sure you're landing well, okay, if you had ankle issues in the past. The other thing too, like I said, if you can stand here and you squat down and you just bend your knees, sliding your knees out over your toes with your heel still engaged to the ground, if you feel tightness, that's a problem, okay? I don't care what your run is like tomorrow. If you don't fix that today, you're only adding to that problem. So it's very easy to go, ooh, yeah, I'm tight today. Do nothing about it because you got a 3-mile run tomorrow that you're going to go do. We do not take care of ourselves well enough, period. Self-care, I know several of you on this call that I can actually see right now talk to about self-care. Vitally, vitally important, because if you really, truly mean it, when you say you want to be a better runner, self-care must come above everything else, 100%. Self-care can be stretching, rolling, recovering, reading and learning, right? This is part of self-care right now, if you really, truly want to be a better runner. All right, that was a really good question, Mike. I know I didn't give you a lot of drills to do, but for this, it's more just of awareness and engagement. You know, do that. See how long you can stand on one foot. Do it. Challenge with your kids if you got kids, or do a test with your spouse or whatever. Who can stand on one leg longer than the other? Push each other. Watch what the body has to go. Whoa, right? All you're doing is it's just like sitting there doing bicep curls. You're training that muscle to fire and engage, therefore making it stronger, therefore making your base much, much, much more stable. Great question. Anybody else got any questions?
How about the knees, Jeremy, when you feel like a tension on your knees?
Yep. So I'm going to talk about the knees as we go kind of up the chain a little more. I want to start at the bottom, but if you feel tension in your knees, typically it's going to be muscles that are pulling each other. And as you know, Claudia, with your vast experience with the human body and muscles, there's always a muscle that is a protagonist and an antagonist. There's always one that's working and there's one that's not working. And sometimes when one outworks the other one, that's when we come up with our injuries and our issues. So what I want you to think about is, what can you do from a strengthening, but more importantly, like a loosening arena or thought process? How can you come up with ways to keep those muscles fresh and loose? I can tell you right now, out of everybody that's on this call and out of all the people that were on the call earlier, maybe one or two of you warm up and cool down properly. Okay? So I got a friend of mine, I'll tell you a quick story. I got a friend of mine, he's the Olympic level paracyclist, Olympic team level, national caliber guy. He will do a workout, and his races are short, and so it's going to be perspective based. But if his workout is 20 minutes of actual work, could be work and recovery, but 20 minutes is his workout, he will do 20 minutes of warm up and 20 minutes of cool down. Think about that. That's like going for a 5-mile run, doing a mile and a half of warm up, 2 miles of work, and a mile and a half of cool down. Who does that? Nobody. Right? So that's what you got to think about in your training. And instead of it being active running when you get done, do your cool down, make your cool down 10 minutes, or add 5 minutes to your run at the end. I guarantee you, your coach will not yell at you if you add 5 minutes, except for Jen. If you add 5 minutes to your run, that is aerobic, super, super, super easy, because you want to cool down a bit more. If you got an hour run and you go an hour 5, I will never yell at you unless you don't follow my rules. Okay?
Okay.
And then take an extra 10 minutes afterwards stretching. Take an extra 10 minutes after doing a very quick, simple yoga class, something like that. So I know, Claudia, that didn't really answer your question, but I'll address the knee as we go. But you got to think about which muscles are being forced to work and which muscles are being forced to just support. Typically, injuries come when you have one muscle that is stronger than the other muscle. And typically, for a lot of us, it's going to be quadriceps, right? Your quads are typically your tighter, and your hamstrings are typically your weaker ones. So they have this push-pull thing to where when one's engaged, the other's giving. Well, when the hamstring engages, the quad's so strong, it doesn't have to give as much. Therefore, we end up with hamstring issues because they're being overworked because they're not strong enough to compete with their counterpart. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Clear as mud?
Yes.
Who else got a question? You're welcome.
How often during the run should we focus on our form, like the leaning forward? Like, I remember before you told me every X amount of time, just like spend, I forgot what it was.
Yeah, the biggest thing to think about and to remember is, if it's just like a watched pot. If you watch a pot of water, it will not boil. Okay? So if you're always, listen, we're talking about gaining 1 degree of ankle flexion. We're talking about gaining 2 degrees of forward lean. That is almost immeasurable with the human eye without some type of tool. So we're looking for small gains. What the gain you will see is, in 6 months, you'll go, man, I'm running quite a bit and I'm not injured, or I'm getting faster. So don't focus on it for more than just 30 seconds to a minute in your run. But if you say, hey, every 5 minutes, when I look down and my watch goes 5 minutes, or every 1 mile, I'm going to dedicate 30 seconds focusing, 2 minutes running, 30 seconds, and then I'm just going to run. So just break it up into small chunks over the course of the day. Do drills to warm up and all that stuff you normally do. Cool down like you should. But if you're going to focus on it, and the other thing to this is pick one thing to work on. Don't go into your run go, okay, I'm going to work on my knee drive and my head position and my arm twist, and I'm going to work on all this stuff. Because you get done, you're either going to go, this is terrible and I suck at running, which is counterproductive, or you're going to go, I just can't fix it. Well, no, you can't fix it because you got everything wrong. And when you fix one piece, let me tell you a little secret here, pro tip. When you fix one thing, you're going to have 5 other things that are wrong. You fix those 5 things, that one thing's wrong again. It's just how it goes. It's the name of the game. Good question. Anybody else?
Jeremy, do we need to work our run by cadence? Do you believe in that?
Absolutely. The thing is if you go to Google right now and you type in something to the effect of proper run cadence for a runner, you're probably going to get who knows how many answers, but you'll typically see 180 steps per minute.
Yes.
I'll tell you right now, 180 is ideal for an ideal human being of ideal shape and size. None of us on this call are any of those things I just described. Okay. If you're taller, it's going to be lower. Your step rates, your stride rate's going to be lower because you have longer legs. If you're shorter, it should be higher because why? Say it with me. You have shorter legs. I'm sorry, but it sucks to be you. But so those things are important to think about. What you want to look at, Claudia, is you want to take what you have and increase on that. So if you notice, and you got to look at more than just one run. If you look at a bunch of runs that you've done, and you see that you're always 168 to 172 steps per minute, okay? Say, okay, this next run, I want to be 170 to 175. Well, how do you do that? Quick tip, another pro tip for you. You guys are getting all the tips today. So when you're running, count your foot strikes, both feet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Count that for 6 seconds. And then here's the fun part. Multiply that by 10. That's how many steps you're going to take in a minute. So it should be around 17 or 18 during that counting phase. Don't count it for a full minute because that would just make you a little bit weird. And don't count it for 10 seconds because doing math times 6 is terrible. So, especially exercise math. So yeah, count it for 6 seconds. So Claudia, on your next run, look at the past 5 runs that you've done and look at your cadence. And from there, you'll go, okay, I've been running 168 steps per minute. Today, I want to go 170. And just do a systems check occasionally. Every 5th minute or however often you're focusing on your run form, same time frame, go, okay, I'm going to count my steps for the next 6 seconds. Do the math, move on. Are you ready to do? Yes, continue. If you're not, fix yourself, continue.
Okay.
Good question. Anybody else?
Coach Jeremy, in preparation for a half marathon, what should be like, just give me a standard number for warm-up time. In the past, I've done a lot of stretching, some like drill warm-ups, but just like to get the body warm and ready to, launch on go, what do you suggest?
Well, I'll tell you right now, I don't know if you noticed, but half marathon is a long way to run. So that being said, it kind of depends, which is my favorite coaching answer. It depends on the athlete's current base of fitness, right? So for example, Jonathan Lejeune, who's one of our pros, he's an elite runner. He'll run a 106 half marathon, okay? So he's only out there for an hour, but we're doing runs that are hour and a half to 3 hours. I'm going to have him warm up for 30 to 40 minutes before. I want him nice and hot because the difference is I'm going to say this and it's going to sound wrong, but I'm going to say it anyway. He's racing. He has to be able to match the surge of the guy right here off the line, right? Yeah. And so his body has to be prepared for that intensity or he risks injury. The other thing is, depends on how long you've been in the sport. If you've been running marathons like Jen here for a long, long time, your body, she probably on a long run, she probably doesn't feel good until mile 12, 13, 14, maybe 8, 9, 10. It takes her a long while. It's a diesel motor. But if you've been running 5Ks or you're new to running, you're going to be hot right out of the gate. So it's kind of dependent upon your experience. What I would tell you to do is avoid static stretching. We've got a good dynamic warm-up on our YouTube channel that I think is very, very good just to activate the hips, activate the body. We move through all 3 planes, which is forward, laterally, and then transverse. So actually crossing the planes just to kind of loosen the body and get it going. So do that. Do some running drills. Okay, if you want to activate, it's more of a neuromuscular thing. Make sure that you include a couple of pickups. Those are very, very important. And it's literally just trying to blow the gas out of the carburetor, if you know old time cars, right? You just kind of pump the gas a little bit, 15, 20 seconds, open it up, let the big dog eat, and then shut it back down. And you do that, 4, 5, 6 times just to kind of awaken the body, if you will. So there's no set time. And again, it all depends on, what you're wanting to do. If you need to come out running 7-minute miles out of the gate, you got to make sure you got a decent sweat going, but not exhausting yourself. So maybe a little longer warm up. Okay. And toy with that. Because much like your taper, it's going to change for every race. Figure out what your body likes the best. Maybe you do a 5K. How about this? Pick a 5K, or if you're going to run a training 5K and you're going to run it for time, run for 30 minutes before the 5K. It's going to be longer than your 5K time, but go run it. See how your body responds. And then you'll go, okay, my body really doesn't like 30 minutes of running before 20 minutes of running. Or maybe it really likes it, depending on if you're used to doing 2-hour runs, that may be where your money's at, but you got to kind of test that.
That's good. No, that's really good. That actually helps me get a good idea of what I need to do. That's good.
Good, because I just made it up. So, anybody have any other questions I can make up answers to? This is kind of fun. No other running questions? Everybody on here is a good runner? Yes, we're good runners. Yes, we are good runners. So, the biggest thing is don't get discouraged in it. When it comes to run form, at the end of the day, you can do all the drills you want. You can do all the visualization you want. You can do all that junk that you want. But if you don't put in the miles, 1, because you're lazy, 2, because you don't want to, and 3, because you're injured or fatigued, you will never get faster, period. Like, there's no way to sugarcoat that. So if you're unwilling or unable to put in the miles, you can do drills until the freaking cows come home, and you will get infinitely discouraged because you will not ever become a much better runner the way you want to be. Now take a step back from that. Give yourself a little bit of credit. You are running. Runners are stupid. Running is, if you ask a cyclist, running is for criminals, right? And so you're doing something that is not only impressive, but you have to remember the amount. It's dangerous to put the people around us that we put around us. We put the people around us that are really good athletes that motivate us and inspire us, and they go out and do something awesome. And then sometimes it inspires us. Sometimes it makes us feel inferior. And I won't even walk down that path today. But think about that. When you complete a run and you are healthy and happy and hungry, high five yourself. Boom. Every single run. I don't care if it's a mile. I don't care if it's 15 miles. If you completed a run healthy, you are well on your way to becoming a better runner. Drills or not. It's very simple. Very simple math. Give yourself a little bit more credit. You guys are way too mean to yourselves. I'm supposed to be mean to you. You are not supposed to be mean to yourself. Everybody clear on that?
Yes.
Any final questions? Awesome. Yes, Claudia, do you have one?
No, I just want to ask you, like, for this time, do you recommend like a short distance or like I don't know how far we can go right now, but what is for you a good recommendation for run right now? Because some days you wake up like today, I would like to run 6 miles, but maybe it's, I don't know, it's a good idea. You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. And this is where I'm going to contradict the coach in me. Why not? Why wouldn't you run 6 miles? It's a beautiful day for running, right? So this is very simply where you send me a note and go, hey coach, it's a really nice day. I'm feeling pretty good. I don't have any running injury issues. I'd love to take a little more time in the sunshine today, because we're not going to have, this is our last dose of cold weather or cooler weather. And then it's just going to be miserable. And you're going to go, no, coach, I'm doing 4 miles today, not 6. Right. So you kind of, the athlete in me wants to tell you to just play it by ear. Remember, it's just exercise. As long as you're smart, as long as you are a good communicator, just go out and do. Go out and see what you can do. Claudia, you could run 20 miles today if you wanted to. You're going to walk some of it. You're going to run some of it, but you could cover 20 miles today. Becca, you could too, right? You could get it done. It's going to require walking. The problem is our expectations suck when it comes to running like that. But use this time as an adventure. And this is not a coach talking to you. This is just a dude that I adventure. Like I don't exercise. I just adventure. And so, Claudia, if you want to go run right now, go run 6 miles right now.
Okay.
You want to do that tomorrow? Do that tomorrow. We'll probably take the next day off, but why not? It's the nicest weather you're going to have until we're still on quarantine in October. But anyway, so, go take advantage of the weather. You just shoot your coach a note and go, hey, I really want to run a little bit. My only concern as a coach with that is it too much for the athlete? Well, you know your body, and guess what? If you end up getting hurt, I'm going to go, told you so. But if you end up doing it and coming away not hurt, I'm going to go, told you so. So regardless, I'm going to win. So just enjoy what you do. Go out, soak up some sunshine, and really just take advantage of the gifts that we have right now. We can still run. Whether you work on run form or not, we can still run. We can still, some of us can't run, but you know what? We can still go out and walk. And we can still go out and do all these things. So just take advantage of that.
Okay.
I expect to see a 6 mile run uploaded from you in the next 2 days, Claudia, by the way.
Yes.
Because why not,
Yeah.
Any final questions? All right. I appreciate you all hanging out with me. And even the meeting ended and I got booted out twice and tried to come back. And so I go in there and I'm frustrated. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to log back in. I'm going to finish record it like I posted and said I would do. And so I got on there. I was like, there's people still in here. This is awesome. So I appreciate you all hanging out. And we'll do it next week. I'll make sure I do it in the garage. I won't have a cool back setting like I thought it would be outside, but I got better connectivity in here. So I'll do it in the garage, and we'll discuss. We'll start to kind of slowly bring the talks kind of up the kinetic chain to make sure we're covering everything all the way up to the tip of your nose and how it should be and where it should be. So I appreciate all of you all. I'll post this on the YouTube channel so you guys can go back and check it out if you want to. And we've got tons of other videos that we're dumping in there this week. I mean, the coaches have really stepped up and gone bonkers with putting on these virtual things. Feel free to jump into any of them, share them with your friends. They don't have to be minor athletes. Come play, have fun, whatever. Claudia, go run 6 miles. Outside of that, thank you all very much. And we will catch up with you all next week.
Okay. Thank you.
Take care.